an unproven developer who bordered on bankruptcy, and a publisher desperately seeking a mascot to rival Mario seems like a disaster waiting to happen, but Spyro the Dragon proved a risk worth taking. Though hardly the first 3D platformer on the console, it would prove the sturdiest rival to the likes of Super Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie. While dampened by some flaws which hold it back from true excellency, Spyro is a colourful and gleeful platformer which keeps you entertained throughout with its charm.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the 5 worlds, or is it 6?
A brief cutscene sets you on your journey, as Gnasty Gnorc turns all dragonkind into crystal statues, and with only Spyro left unfrozen, it's up to the purple young'un to free his kin and put a stop to the green troll's meddling.
That does it!
Looks like I've got some things to do.
You can do this by travelling across 6 hub worlds, each comprising of 4 to 5 levels. These contain dragons to free, gems to collect, and on some occasions, dragon eggs to reclaim from thieves. It borrows liberally from other collectathon platformers of the time, but the streamlined nature of this is welcome. It's easy to check what items you're missing from any given level, and though barriers are presented which force you to collect certain quantities of each item, they aren't laborious to overcome. It can be a tad easy as a result, but it avoids becoming a slog like some of the more extreme collectathons. The structure perhaps doesn't lend itself to variety. Each hub contains 5 stages, 3 traditional platforming levels, a special flight level, and the boss confrontation. Flight levels task you with destroying 4 sets of objects within a limited time, with each object rewarding precious seconds. Bosses are perhaps the weakest part of Spyro, almost all of which lack any semblance of challenge and feel more like interruptions rather than baddies you will remember. The straightforward design can feel a bit repetitive by the end, and even with later stages throwing tougher enemies who bear armour and require new tactics to defeat, it's not quite enough to avoid a slight sense of stagnancy creeping in towards the end. Spyro excels with sheer proficiency. A lot of platformers of the time struggled with controls and cameras in a 3-dimensional setting, but Insomniac cleverly circumvented this issue with spacious levels that, despite some basic geometry at times, feel expansive. Spyro's moveset is somewhat limited and doesn't expand, but one of his greatest moves is the glide, which functions remarkably well. Chasms which look too far to reach are exciting to overcome, and though it perhaps doesn't build upon this foundation with any great variety, the platforming is still a sheer joy. Spyro can also charge and breathe fire, and smartly, enemies adapt to force the player to utilise both. Deaths, rather than coming from cheap falls, feel legitimate, and there's room for error too thanks to Sparx, Spyro's dragonfly buddy, who allows him to take free hits. Insomniac deserves credit for making the platformer work remarkably well in a fully 3D space.
After you freed all the dragons, pass through this fancy vortex thingamajigger. It'll take you back to the artisan home. But first let me tell you a story.
No thanks. See ya.
Spyro is also one of the better looking games on the platform. The purple dragon himself is remarkably detailed, with expressive facials and fantastic animation. While enemies and levels perhaps don't benefit from this same detail, they still bore vivid colours and are plentiful in quantity and size, respectively. Even better, the smooth performance never suffers with all the action going on. There are a lot of technical accomplishments too, including briefer than usual load times and larger draw distances, which avoid typical fogging. The audio is rather brilliant too, benefiting immensely from Stuart Copeland, who composed the soundtrack. Each track feels well attuned to the theme, and some truly memorable melodies stick with you. Catchy sound effects and serviceable voice work also make their presence felt. The only other complaint you can levy at Spyro the Dragon is that it is a little on the short side. To simply clear the main story, you're looking at around 7 hours of gameplay, which will fly by in a flash. While getting the coveted 120% could push that up closer to the 12-hour mark, there's really not much incentive to keep playing once you've achieved that feat. But Spyro the Dragon is a rock-solid, engaging platformer that is only held back by some slight, yet noticeable, issues. It's an extremely polished platformer that sticks to the genre's roots, perhaps to a fault, but does so remarkably well. The presentation is top-notch, the gliding and controls are fantastic, and even if the game becomes a touch tiring towards the end, it's still great fun. It doesn't quite compete with the best of the genre, but Spyro's first rodeo would prove an extremely solid foundation for sequels to come, and this would cement Spyro as one of Sony's iconic figureheads of its 5th generation console.